financial institution that allows you to basically be a bank. I go, wow, that's interesting. And he's like, no one has done it yet. I go, I'm on a plane. And so we started a bank called Noble Bank, and we did that in 2014. And I said to myself that when the prices of cryptocurrency moon, I don't like to use that analogy, but you know, I will in this case. When the market moons, when the moon rises, you know, that will be a good time to be able to motivate a large movement. I'm not there for my benefit, but if you want to move a market, you know, one of the greatest tools that governments have are financial incentives. This is what governments use all over the world and have for a very long time. You incentivize, you know, the behavior or the innovation or the activity that you want as a government. And that's the same way that Bitcoin was built. It was built by creating an economic incentive. Most of all the systems that we're building in the blockchain world is done by creating economic incentives to drive behavior. It's the concept of gamification. Hence why Korea is, you know, winning the game. Korea is winning the game right now because Korea understands gamification. And so I told Scott and many of my friends, I said, we're all going to move to Puerto Rico in 2018. And they're like, what? Why are we? And then, you know, eventually they're like, okay. And then the hurricane hit. And I said, they need help now. I know that this is not convenient, but time to pack your bags. And it's that economic incentive that is moving thousands of people.
That's his philosophy. He was asking your philosophy. And also, you need to help now. North Korea. We are trying to, the Swytch team is trying to build a solar peace park. And we visited so many places like Blue House and also...
We were the number of legislators in Blue House.
And so the Ministry of Unification.
Well, the Ministry of Unification, what's amazing on this trip is the speed with which the possibility of investing in the North and bringing food and energy to the North has occurred in just a few weeks since the summit. And
what an amazing time to be here in Korea. What a beautiful potential.
So we had many
positively impact lives.
There were a bunch of meetings about solar and solar incentives around Korea. And then this fascinating one up in the DMZ as a peace park mechanism.
DMZ is from here to all the way. And the right-hand corner, right side, it's well kept. It's well conserved, so we don't touch it. But the left corner, where we have a Kaesong Industrial Park, which is built by South Koreans in North Korea. And we are trying to provide the energy to that park as well as North Korea. Therefore, these are the areas we're trying to put the Swytch solar panels. And there is a small island right here, which is also our target. This is an island. We're trying to build a whole solar park here to provide solar to North Korea, as well as food. We are thinking of food too. They need food and energy the most at the moment. So, you know, you are the one, you have the philosophy to help needy and poor people.
Well, and Korea, I lived in Pyeongchang-dong. I've thought of Korea for much of my life as my second home. I came to Korea in 2004 and 5 and 6, and I acquired Item Mania and Item Bay, the two main game currency trading platforms. So I was chairman of all of the Korean game item trading business for the last 10 plus years, yes. And so I lived in Korea, I spent tons of time in Korea. I've always loved Korea, and so I'm obviously not Korean, so I'm not nearly as familiar, but this has always been one of my second homes. One of my favorite places in the world, and it's such a wonderful thing to be able to be back here again, and the idea of being able to support and help you with this. I can think of few things in this world better to do right now.
So it's a remarkable connection because Korea, of course, is a strong birthplace of these incentives and gamification mechanisms and currency. And of course, the other thing here is blockchain mechanisms are very good at helping development in areas where people are either unbanked or don't have resources or uncarbon market or however you want to put it, right?
Yeah.
And this is exactly what you ran into in Puerto Rico after the hurricane.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so now here we bring together Korean Peninsula, perhaps the most advanced heated market in crypto, and the place on earth that most needs development has the greatest potential. The potential difference between those two is amazing, and the opportunity is similarly amazing, which is kind of why this becomes a really interesting conversation.
And
Yeah, we can
and-
leapfrogging.
and I'm ready to be back in in Korea
Yeah.
all the time. It's not convenient from Puerto Rico, but convenience is not my driver.
You know, when you talk
It's always
about,
hard.
when you talk about incentives, it's really interesting to think about the fact that at a time when the world is trying to get big problems done, like carbon reduction, in a way, the global community has thrown up its arms and said, we don't have the mechanisms. If you go to the World Economic Forum, they say the commons won't heal itself. Legislative mechanisms are too slow. And if you look at a younger generation that has tuned out of government, it's a little bit because those mechanisms are like playing a video game where no matter what you do to the controller, it doesn't affect what's on the screen. So you tune out, it's a bad game. And this is kind of where mechanism design and blockchain comes in. When we think about Swytch, we're encouraged by the 2006 Nobel Prize for Mechanism Design, which says you can design a game that will incent people. But of course, in that original Nobel Prize, the idea that you had someone other than governments do it didn't exist. Then there was the Nobel Prize for Common Pool Resources that Eleanor Nostrom run, which is you could actually have commons and shared data work. And right between those was Satoshi, who pointed out that if there was a lousy game, in this case banking, you could fix it. And we think of the energy incentive market as a lousy game. The data's all segregated, it's not rolled up, the incentives are very local, new incentive mechanisms put together. So we created Swytch as a way of addressing that, applying that. And that's why, A, we're thrilled that you're an investor and participant in Swytch, and B, we can apply to things like this.
And if you hear exactly what I talk about, or where are the places in the world where this Nobel Prize intellectual sort of pursuit can become reality. It's not just an idea, it's an implemented event that is going to positively change the lives of people. And I can think of almost no place better. I mean, obviously, South Korea being so advanced at winning in this game and being bordered so close. It's not like North Korea is far away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the ability to impact the lives and the ability for the South Koreans to impact the lives of their cousins, their aunts, their uncles.
Yeah.
You know, a stone's throw away.
Yeah.
And you know, more generally, one of the whole concepts behind Swytch token is for people in the developed world that have incentives, for that to show up where it needs to be, right? If you're reducing 7 times more carbon because you're displacing diesel in Africa or North Korea or in Puerto Rico, how amazing is that? So this is a connection, it's a global connection that drives capital to where it needs to be.
For all these, Swytch has to be successful.
Yeah.
To have North Korea, and we have to list it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will list it in the end of July. At the end of July. Could you help us? You own.
Of course I'm going to help. I'm going to help in every way I possibly can because I live my life in service.
I know.
And I serve those in service first.
Thank you very much.
And what you're attempting to do here
Yes.
can become a lighthouse for what's possible in the world.
Thank you very
And
much.
it can positively impact the lives of so many people that need it right now. And at a time where the governments, because this can't be done without government, you know, governments are willing, and you're starting to see this beautiful event occur, you know, in the Korean Peninsula right now. And what better time than to, you know, the door is opening, you know, to bring in those things that are needed to change lives.
And by the way, we see it in many places, right? We see experimentation going on in Puerto Rico. We see experimentation going on between Europe and Africa. Because if we're going to address climate change, we have to speed up renewables in the fastest growing parts of the world, right? So that's Asia, it's Africa, it's Latin America, there are parts of the US that have coal, and you need to do that with incentives, not with a stick, but by turning it into a game. And so you know a lot about creating a game. What we've done in Swytch is applying all of that. So we're basically conspiring, or we're in cahoots, as Miko says, we're in cahoots to create a game that both accelerates this movement, and also creates a movement around it, right? So there's the whole enterprise side of it, where you work with big people to put in solar arrays, and you use Swytch to identify the information and have an oracle provide the most accurate information about how to invest. But if you get individuals involved, you buy a coin in the US and you know it's going to show up in Africa and solve a problem, that turns it into a movement. It creates an action you can take other than just a charity or protesting. It's an action, an investment, a token that brings about a change somewhere else that you can immutably prove and is an investment.
Yes.
Yes, please, more of that.
Okay. Thank you very much for your
Thanks.
help for
photo time.
Thank you.
괜찮아.
I also have a gift for you. The chestahedron, it's